Man, am I tired. I just got off my 12-hour shift because some goofball decided that they were going to call off. So I had to handle that. Well, I guess the good thing is at least it's over. So, time to get to some gaming. You know what? I think I'm going to play something else. Hi guys, Brand here, and welcome to another commentary video. This one is actually coming from you guys. This is a suggestion I've been seeing over the course of recently, the past month or so, which I guess is kind of topical considering I made that video about killer being harder, that a lot of people across my Twitch and across the YouTube comments have asked, hey, could you do a video possibly covering how to handle killer anxiety and being stressed going to play killer, which is something that we kind of naturally all feel, to some to more extent than others, but we all kind of feel killer anxiety time to time, some of us to the point where it's like really difficult to play the game overall because that stress gets so overwhelming. People ask me this a lot, especially on twitch.tv/TheMrHeadache when I'm actively streaming. How do you avoid those killer nerves and how do you handle this so calmly? So I want to impart as much wisdom as I can to try and help you get through your own killer nerves, or at least understand where these killer nerves are coming from and how to have realistic expectations. Today we're going to be breaking this down into 3 separate points, this being focusing on improvement, enjoying the ride, and being realistic about your gameplay experience. Focusing on improvement is probably where I noticed the biggest difference for me in terms of dreading playing the game versus enjoying playing the game. Dead by Daylight, in terms of balance, is probably a game that will realistically never ever be balanced if we're being honest about it. They can get it to as good of a spot as they possibly can be, and it certainly doesn't mean that we should stop asking for them to try to get it to that most balanced spot that they can get it to, but realistically the game is forever going to kind of be, just based on its based foundation, going to be unbalanced. But the point I'm trying to make here is, because of that, that means there's going to be a lot of situations where things can and will go wrong that are realistically not your fault, and there's a lot of kind of RNG to who wins and who is quote unquote the best in Dead by Daylight match to match. So to me, what that spells out is that on your end as the player, it's kind of up to you to get as skillful at the specific character, the specific tech, the specific use of a perk as possible in order to edge out as much of that RNG aspect of that as possible. Because I feel like that's almost like the most frustrating part about Dead by Daylight. I mean, I was playing some Survivor with some friends the other night, and we had a Nancy who was in our game. We were facing a Nemesis who vaccinated 3 times. She vaccinated once, vaccinated twice, and then she immediately dived off a hill, got hit by a zombie, and then vaccinated again. And if you're somehow not aware how Nemesis works, his infection system only spawns 4 vaccinations across the map for all 4 players to use throughout the game. So one player very selfishly taking all 3 of them kind of put us in a very, very bad spot that made the match overall very unfun. But the point being is that there's a lot in Dead by Daylight that can go wrong that is not your fault. So my main takeaway from that is not this game is stupid and it makes me mad. It's that it should then be my responsibility to edge out as much of that RNG or potentially having something go wrong that's not my fault as possible. This means being the best at the characters that I play, mastering the text that I know. That way, if something goes wrong that screws me over, there was truly nothing more I could do. In my personal experience, I used to main Billy, old overheat Billy, before he was good again, so that was kind of a pain, but I tried to get as good as I could at curves and curving as Hillbilly, because that was like the skillful thing that would help me despite the fact of the limits of my character or the limits of the game. If I could get as good as possible at curving, then it could really be only the perks or only the maps that are screwing me over. It's not me, because I'm operating on all cylinders. Xenomorph tail attacks are also an excellent example, which is my current main. Xenomorph, it takes a while to get good at the character. They have kind of a moderate skill floor, meaning that until you get used to dealing with turrets, weaving your tail attack in and around the environment, you may not get the most out of this character. But if I log into Dead by Daylight every single day with the intention to improve at my tail attacks and try to explore how good I can get instead of just, flatly winning all of my games, I will gradually see improvement over time and I will be overall less frustrated. I think a lot of the time the Dead by Daylight community can't really see the forest through the trees. They're so preoccupied with the end results of their games that they don't realize that they stop to chase the survivor that's actually really good at chase. Even though it wastes your time and makes you lose, it helps you gain this skill of how do I deal with really good survivors that actually know how to play the game. On the flip side on the survivor, and that's why you see a lot of people end up running a lot of like the quad gen rush into BNP builds, is because honestly improving at the game is hard and takes a while and it's kind of scary. So honestly, it's a lot easier to just take the easy route, just slap on a lot of perks that benefit from not interacting and not learning the hard aspects of the game and just getting the result. But once again, it's the DBD community not really seeing the forest through the trees, not looking for long-term improvement and consistency, and instead choosing short-term results. This could be something as small as just improving at a certain aspect of the game that you in particular don't really do well with. This could be I have too long chases. Most of my chases are over a minute. That's not good. I need to cut that down to like 40-50 seconds, or I need to make more mental note of which gens are being worked on where. I don't have a good macro sense. So if you walk into your games with more of a mental effort to improve at things instead of just the rogue results of just did I win or did I lose, you will find yourself enjoying games more, because the end result for you is not the victory, but the end result is, am I getting better overall in a long-term journey that is far more fulfilling? And it kind of like serves itself to its own end, right? Because if you just focus on long-term improvement, then you will actually eventually start winning your games more. So it's a long-term investment that will pay off for the very thing you're trying to do at the moment. This second one is a far more subjective take compared to a lot of the other ones that we're going to talk about today. But the second one is enjoy the ride. Honestly, for me as a player that has over 8,000 hours at this point, which is far too much, one of the most fun periods of Dead by Daylight for me was when I didn't have the characters fully leveled up, didn't have a lot of add-ons, that sort of thing. Basically, when I was just still fresh and I basically always had a goal to work towards because I just needed to pile more add-ons. I needed to get more teachables. There was always something I was striving towards. So my advice to you is to just enjoy the ride. Take more pride in your work to get those teachables, and honestly, don't try to rush it. Genuinely, you'll never ever be in this position again where you don't have all the characters unlocked, you don't have all the teachables, you don't have mountains of add-ons going on, and there's a joy to learning the game and being fresh that will very easily get away from you in this game. A lot of times, since I have all the teachables and I have a lot of add-ons on most characters, I find myself being kind of just vaguely directionless. Like I feel like I log in sometimes and I don't really know what to do, which is why I have found a lot of enjoyment and happiness in making builds for you guys and trying to teach you the Xenomorph, because it feels like I've kind of found something that I feel proud of that I can help players improve with. But outside of like the game handing me challenges, I go that's also why I go super ham on the challenges whenever those are released, because I feel like I can finally be motivated again. I have been giving a task that I can complete and there's something to look forward to. But as you guys have probably seen with the Dead by Daylight challenges, it's kind of fairly easy to complete most of them, so I kind of mow through them and I'm just kind of back to going, I guess let's see what the next build is, I suppose. But essentially the TLDR is it can be hard to be motivated once you've reached the mountaintop, so enjoy the journey to the top. The last one, and probably like the one I think is probably the most important, especially in Dead by Daylight, which is a very like content creation kind of heavy environment, is be realistic about your experience. The way streamers play the game in Dead by Daylight is honestly, no knock to myself or any of your favorite creators, kind of weird. It's kind of weird to invest that much time in a game. I think people have this misconception that when they watch content creators play the game, they expect that they will have the same level of skill, devotion, playtime, etc. as the content creators they're watching. Believe me, outside of my previous MMO addiction that I had like 4 or 5 years ago to Star Wars: The Old Republic, you guys used to play that game, I've never come even close to the amount of hours that I have put into Dead by Daylight. Like not even close on any game that I own. It's frankly not normal to have 8,000 plus hours in a game. It's just out of the ordinary. And this is something that I tried to vaguely allude to in that video I made talking about how Killer got harder, was that like, yeah, a lot of the issues that were happening with the recent changes of like healing perks being buffed, spawn changes happening, is that like, yeah, especially me playing something like Xenomorph who can just immediately dart across the map, these will proportionally not affect me as much as a lot of the players that play, because I play a character with high mobility, I have 8,000 hours, so I have a lot of experience to deal with these things. But like to just assume that all other players kind of have that same experience that you do, or expect them to, oh well, just grind 8,000 hours and it won't be as bad, dude. It's like, people work 9 to 5s, and often those 9 to 5s require them to come in on their days off, work 12+ hour shifts. Like, people have families, kids, spouses. Like, people have stuff to do that is not the game. So to expect people to just kind of like bend knee and put the same amount of investment into the game that a content creator does because they get often paid for it, it's just not realistic. That is not going to be the average gameplay experience. So to expect people to play on the level, or to expect yourself to play on that level, is just not fair, and you should put that expectation on yourself. Like, realistically, a lot of the changes that happen will adversely affect more casual players more than they will ever affect the veterans in the game. So don't dive into Dead by Daylight like it's your 9 to 5. The reason that Dead by Daylight content creators play so much is, like I said, it's because usually if they have a good traction, they're getting paid for it on the back end. There is a direct financial compensation for those hours that they have invested into the game. However, your mental and emotional health is not worth wearing down for no direct benefit for yourself whatsoever. You realistically shouldn't be playing Dead by Daylight that much, nor should you be expecting the same level of results that you see from your average Dead by Daylight content creator. You're not there to stack wins. You're not there to pull a 9 to 5. You're there to have a good time. So don't set that expectation on yourself to play the game from extremely long periods of time, get super good at the game, have almost zero flaws that a lot of content creators like to try and enshrine. At the end of the day, you're just a person, and the best you can do is your best. So don't put yourself on that pedestal that a lot of people do. I see so many people just try to have these really long Dead by Daylight gaming sessions and really just kind of like almost like self-punish themselves and get really mad at themselves for the mistakes they make because they don't see that happen to like an ATTRIBUTION or a Hens or etc. And it's like, well, those are some of the most prolific content creators in Dead by Daylight. Of course they are going to invest more hours than you and see more dividends for those hours. Of course they're going to be better at the game because they're spending so much time in the game. That is not something that is meant for you to reflect, and it should not be the standard that you set for yourself. I think honestly, if there's just a TLDR to all this all combined, is just honestly, don't be so hard on yourself. Focus on long-term improvement. Invest in yourself. Don't try to rush the experience of Dead by Daylight, because often if you climb that mountaintop and you hit it too fast, you're going to be kind of bored and directionless. And lastly, just don't put these serious, just over the top expectations of yourself to be on the level of an ATTRIBUTION, whether it be time invested or skill at the game, because that's not really realistic for somebody that doesn't full-time content create for the game. That's just not a realistic expectation or standard to hold yourself to. And then to be harsh on yourself when you don't meet those standards, that just sucks. You deserve better than that. You do, honestly. I always make this joke to people. It's like Dead by Daylight's one of those games that's like really fun where there's nobody in your ear telling you it's not, which is, you know, ties to other things like not getting too involved in DBD social media and stuff like that. But realistically, another part of it is just not going too hard at it and just realizing at the end of the day, it's just a game. So do the things that feel good and avoid the things that don't. It's really as simple as that at the end of the day. Yeah, hopefully some of these bits of wisdom have helped you try to quell those killer anxieties that you have going into the game of Dead by Daylight. And honestly, just from me to you, like, you're only human. And the best you can do is your best. That's the best we can expect from you, is your best. So don't try to be too harsh on yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. And one thing that is certain about all this is it's something that we're all going through together and will continue to all go through together. So we should lean on each other and try to rely on each other. You have support all around you. So don't be afraid to vent and just kind of feel it sometimes, but also don't be too harsh on yourself in the process. But like I said, hopefully those bits of wisdom did help you today, friends, but that is unfortunately going to be it for today's video. Hopefully some of these helped you. If they did, let me know down in the comments below, or if you have any better nuggets of truth, please leave them down there as well. Like I said, it's important that we all lean on each other. So you have better ideas on how to quell killer anxiety, please leave them down below so you can help out a fellow homie. Other than that, that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you liked what I did. That's how I know I did a good job on the back end, and hopefully I made your day a little bit better today. And if I didn't, I'll try to do so again in the next video. And if I do not see you there, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.